Welcome to the Bike Advisory Council. I am going to try to run this meeting until Daniel gets here. Item one, we're going to do call to order. And I'll do a roll call. Daniel, not here, but he will be here late. Ben Hanks. Here. Kevin Hayes here. Stella Hollander.
Here.
Fiona Kelly. Here. Samantha Meyer. Here. Valerie Pete.
Here.
Is it Pete?
It's Pyatt.
Pyatt.
There's no way to know that from those letters though.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, and then we'll start with preliminary general business. These are announcements from members of the BAC and staff. If anyone wants to take 3 minutes to have a quick talk. I have one announcement I want to make. I presented a couple meetings ago on working towards trying to make the streetlights work with ADOT. And I just wanted to let you all know, let me get my notes here. Just can't find it, here it is. That I sent a response to ADOT about making the change of the traffic light on Route 66 and Steves. And the ask was on the bike lane, when the light turns green, I want the crosswalks to turn automatically. I sent that to ADOT. And they responded and said, "Good morning, Kevin. Our signals supervisor indicated that this has been tested for compatibility with the railroad presumption routines and has now been installed." So I went down there and took a look. They have turned that light on. So the minute that you're on Route 66 and Steve's, the minute light turns green, the crosswalks will turn green automatically. So it doesn't stay on as long as the green light does, and that makes sense if you think about the geek and how long those lights work, but it does allow you to not need to stop. You can either slow down or speed up depending on that light, so it works out.
So is that the first demonstrable success to your year-long effort?
Actually, it's the fourth. I've had them do 3 on, so I've been going a light at a time. I've had them do 3 on Country Club as well too, and so and actually, I responded to this and thanked them, and I asked them to, wondered if they could test the compatibility of setting that with, what's the other road I just keep talking about?
Ponderosa.
Oh, with Ponderosa Parkway. And they then responded and said, "We will look into it." So I haven't heard from them yet, but my hope is they'll look at Ponderosa Parkway also. If we can get Ponderosa Parkway, then we have one other street, which is a city street, but that one street aside, you could then go from downtown Flag all the way to the mall and have a multimodal friendly light intersection from that street. So that's my one update. And the second update is, I'm getting new knee tomorrow, so I may not be in the next meeting. So, but I may be. So. Awesome. So does anyone else have anything, announcements they want to bring up?
Okay, I also contacted ADOT per the BAC's recommendation because there was an obstruction in the bike lane on Fort Valley. It was overgrown bushes and they responded really quickly, like within a week, and they fixed it within, I'd say, 2 weeks.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Just
Wow.
trim.
Yeah.
They've been wonderful. That system they have is great. It really helps. Did you say you had to?
Not so much of an announcement, but I was in Tucson recently and got to try out the bike boulevard for the first time. And it was nice. It's enjoyable. And drivers were surprisingly accommodating to us commuting because it's like there's still, cars driving around there. We also got to visit Bicus, which is the bike co-op down there. And it's just a big warehouse full of donated bikes and bike components that you can buy and bike art. It's really cool if you get a chance to check it out.
Could you be specific about which bike boulevard was it?
I couldn't tell you. I was following my friend who's a local.
Like separated bike lanes?
So it kind of changed as we went along. I think it just kind of refers to this whole corridor that exists that like takes you from, I don't know, well, we were in like just north of downtown to like downtown U of A this area. And so sometimes it's just kind of like a normal bike lane. And then when you cross a major intersection, you kind of get funneled into a, there's actually two separate crosswalk buttons, one for pedestrians and one for bikes. One for
Wow.
bikes is shorter because you can go faster. But then, yeah, occasionally it becomes like a two-way bike lane, but yeah,
Oh, cool.
really cool.
It's a toucan.
Toucan. Yeah, I wasn't sure. That down.
Just like the bird.
Yeah.
And it stands for Toucan Cross Pedestrians. and Bikes.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Awesome. All right, so we'll move on to the next agenda, public comment. This time, any members of the public may address the BAC on a subject matter not scheduled for that committee. Anyone,
Just to be clear, they're obligated to comment.
they're obligated, everyone is obligated.
Just kidding.
Thank you.
Was that Tucson we were just talking about?
Does anyone from the public have any comments, things they want to state online?
Since I'm new to your meeting, have you discussed in the past, or is it an upcoming agenda item to discuss speed limits for bicycles on various bike paths or foot trails? Comes up because of electric bikes, but I suppose bicycle racers would be subject to the same speed limits if there were any. Is that part of your ongoing discussion?
We have not had that conversation. This committee. It's not come up.
Yeah, official. I've had conversations of that in the past, and I do think I remember some minutes where some public comments have asked about things like that too, but I don't think it's been on an agenda item.
I think that just really quickly, the two things that would be part of that are enforceability. So is it possible even to enforce it? And then two, when you think about some trails, when trails are little used, and there's like a lot of wide open space, the speed limit doesn't necessarily make sense. It's okay for bikes to go fast.
Right.
If it's in a very crowded area like downtown where there's a lot of activity on the trail, then the speed limit would probably be too high. Like if, let's say we set a speed limit of 15, that's still too high in a place where there's a lot of pedestrians for bikes to go safely.
I understand that, and the real optimal solution is that bicyclists will be courteous and respect their surroundings. So if we can think of ways to have bicyclists be courteous, respectful of other people, then you really don't need a speed limit. Thank you.
That's a worthy topic to talk about.
And I do think, just personally, it's something we will need to talk about at some point, because I think of e-bikes and like one-wheel bikes and electric scooters as, the old days of like snowboarders, right? I mean, it was old, it was all new. Everyone only wanted to ski, but now it's a part of everyday life. And I think it is something that we just have to learn to live with all of it. So how do you police all of that around there?
If I could just echo that same concern, especially with the Butler Avenue separated bike lanes project. There might be ways to design speed controls into it without actually having to tell people how fast they can go.
Bicycles.
Hoping that whoever designs that sets that.
Trails.
All right, anyone else with any public comments? We'll move on to the next agenda, item approval of minutes. We have a regular meeting for November 7th, 2024, and the special meeting of November 26th. Let's start with the regular meeting, November 7th, 2024. We've all Members get the minutes. I didn't have a chance to read them. I apologize for that.
I'll make a motion to approve. Can I make a motion to approve both minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Great, we have a motion to approve both minutes. Again, I haven't read them, so I don't feel comfortable.
Read him a second.
Second, awesome. Awesome, all right, in favor?
Aye.
I
Awesome. And it's approved. All right, so for new business, I think that's when we hand it off to you there, Martin, right?
Yeah, so the first one is capital planning.
Five-year capital plan, yes, sir.
Any preferences on screen? This one, that one, is that one? Seems to be better for everyone. So this is a kind of an annual presentation on the city's capital planning process. I'm gonna kind of start from beginning of the process, which means that those of you who've been here for a while have heard this several times already, and I apologize, I'll try to go quickly, but I know we have a number of new members. And I thought it was important to provide a little context on what we do every year as part of the capital planning process. So I mentioned that it's conducted annually, and this is really a citywide process. The capital plan is a plan that tells the public what we're going to build in the way of public projects.
This is not capstones, not fishing, period.
Paul, you might want to put yourself on mute.
Yeah, I'm jumping off and going mobile, so
Okay.
thank you.
It covers all kinds of public projects from sewer and water to stormwater, streets, fire station, parks, foot trails, bike lanes, sidewalks. Reflects a 5-year period, so it indicates what we want to build over the next 5 years. The first year in the capital plan is our budget request for next year. So if council approves it, then we actually have that money available for the next fiscal year. For the 4 years after that in the 5-year plan are planned. So in theory, next year, whatever we have in year 2 would move forward to year 1, and we'd add new projects on the end and so on. It rarely works out that cleanly, but that's the idea. This is a public document. Along the line, at various points, we have solicited public input on this. This kind of tells the public what we're intending to build. So there's some level of kind of commitment. We want to make sure that we're telling the public what we're following through on some of these projects. Yes,
When is the fiscal year? I hate to say that, but I don't know what the city's fiscal year is.
it begins on July 1st.
Is it July to June?
July to June, yeah. And we are currently in fiscal year 25. So the projects we're talking about are for fiscal year 26, which will begin on July 1st of next year. The capital plan is fiscally constrained, which means that we have to have a funding source for all the projects that we identify, including the ones in the years. Little background on our ped and bike projects. We originally inventoried and prioritized a wide variety of ped and bike projects as part of the 2018 transportation sales tax ballot question. That ballot question was subsequently approved by the voters, and the sales tax for transportation projects was extended. What it means is that at least in 2018, we were anticipated to generate $29 million over 20 years that was dedicated for ped and bike projects, starting in the year 2020. So far, the sales tax receipts have been in excess of projection. So we have something more than $29 million for that. Simultaneously, construction costs have gone through the roof. So I don't know if where we end up relative to the other, if we're kind of stuck in the middle, just where we were before. You've noticed over the last couple of years that there have been a number of good grant opportunities. They tend to be more for planning types of projects, and there have been fewer opportunities for construction. And this is kind of at the federal level. We'll see where that goes over the next couple of years. But we've used grants to essentially supplement the money that we have from the sales tax. So I'll pause there. That's the context of it, where we get our money from and what we have to spend. Are there any questions or comments about that part of it? I might add that transportation sales tax is good for 20 years. And so it will expire in 2040. At which time the city will decide if we still have transportation projects we want to fund, do we want to extend that sales tax? I'm not sure what it amounts to. It's a small amount. Everything that we purchase in town pays a little bit to transportation. That same sales tax also pays for bigger roadway projects, like John Wesley Powell, Butler Avenue, the Lone Tree Overpass, part of Beale University. So there's a big part of it that goes for general street projects and a smaller part that is dedicated for bed and bike projects.
Will you just clarify for me, all of these projects are funded through this 2018, like this transportation money, not
Yes.
federal grants? Or is
We
it a
have,
combination of the two?
we have a couple of federal grants that are paying for projects, and we can take a look at those individual projects. That transportation sales tax, the shorthand for it is Prop 419.
Okay.
So if you ever hear Prop 419, that's the transportation sales tax. In fact, I think we use that more often than transportation sales tax, which is illegal. So as part of that original ballot question, we went through and identified and prioritized a number of different ped and bike projects that fall into 5 general categories: sidewalks, foot trails, bikeways, enhanced crossings, which would be crossings at grade on the street level, and separated crossings, which are bridges or tunnels, peds and bikes. The 4 steps that we used was first an inventory, so to see what's missing or where things are needed. Then a determination of how they might be built. So sometimes things are built as part of other street projects. Sometimes they're built as part of private development. A lot of things we have to build as standalone projects, and those need to be funded. They were prioritized, and I'll go through how that worked in just a moment. And then we started programming them. So we assign them timeframes. Are they in the immediate future? Are they further out? And then the ones that were in the immediate time frame, we started to program in the capital plan. Actually got money for them. Here are the priority factors, and I don't have too much detail, but I'm happy to provide that offline if you're interested. There are 4. The first one is generators and attractors. So we looked at things like, is it proximate to transit? Is it proximate to a school? Are there dense residential developments nearby? Is it close to where people work or shop? Things that generate or attract walking and biking trips, essentially. The second thing are social factors. And here we looked at things that make people more likely to walk or bike. So it's low income neighborhoods, households without access to a vehicle, non-white neighborhoods. There's a handful of other ones, which are escaping me at the moment, but just that social factors that would make it more likely that people would need to or want to walk or bike. The third was need and functionality. So this is kind of our collective knowledge on some of these projects. So for example, if we've heard over the years from the public in surveys, in emails, whatever, that we need a sidewalk along 4th Street, then we have heard from people that that's a need in the community already. We can also use our own judgment as to functionality. So we have a good idea of this would be a really important sidewalk connection. This foot trail would make a nice link with other foot trails and serve a function. And then the 4th one was kind of specific to project type. So for sidewalks and crossings, we looked at comfort. So sidewalks, for example, comfort is defined by how busy and fast is the road next to you? Are there buffers between you and the roadway? Things like that. Crossing comfort is very similar, but it's how easy is it for a pedestrian to get across the street? For bikeways, it was a little bit different. We didn't use these 4 factors. I don't have them listed here, but they're similar. They look at things like completion, functionality, how it fits into the network, things like that. So the result of that is all the projects that we identified were divided into 4 priority levels, first, second, third, and fourth. Then further divided into a time frame of within 5 years, within 20 years, and beyond 20 years. The significance of the time frame is if they're identified within 5 years, it means that they would be part of the capital plan. They're in that 5 years. If they're within 20 years, they're within the time horizon of the transportation sales tax. And if they're beyond 20 years, they fall outside of that. All those things were defined based on fiscal constraint. So anything within the first 5 years is what we have money for from that sales tax in 5 years. Anything within 20 years is what we have money for over the life of that tax. It gets a little bit tricky to define what projects we'll have money for in year 19, for example, but we do the best we can. This is a way of kind of organizing it. And now the next part, we'll go through kind of individual projects. This hasn't changed too much from year to year. I started at the beginning and told you that we did this process initially in 2018. At some point, we'll need to go back and kind of review, start over with that process, kind of redo our priorities and see what turns up. What we do annually is kind of look at what we have for priorities, see what's changed in the last year. Of course, things that get built fall off the list. Sometimes new development comes in or other projects occur that make it more expedient to build other projects, if that makes any sense. Like if a development goes through and builds part of a foots trail, it may make the part that's missing now more of a priority. So that this is a kind of our annual chance to review those things and see if things have moved up or down based on what's happened in the last year. So this is actually how things are categorized in the capital plan. And it's based on these 5 categories that we started with. So for foots, we have a budget for improvements and enhancements. For foot signing, asphalt trail repairs, I believe we've talked about before. I think that's on our reports at the end, but we're making good progress on that project. Single track forest access, and then individual foots trail projects. And I'll show you some maps that kind of illustrate that. So this is our overall foots plan. It's a little bit tough to see at this scale. We're trying to make this all available online on interactive maps, and hopefully that there is already a version of that online, but we're trying to update that to reflect our current information. That's taking a little bit longer than we thought, but hopefully we'll have it pretty quickly. So the dark solid is existing. Anything in the lighter dashed is part of the regional plan system of plan trails. So here's what we're kind of currently reviewing as part of private development. So this is where private development would build planned foots trails, and there's some big categories here. This is part of Timber Sky, and actually a lot of these trails were built.
They are built.
Yeah, they've built the ones along Woody Mountain and 66 are not quite there yet. Moving down here, if you followed council, this was approved as part of that Lake Mary housing project. So council put a condition on to.
I demanded it.
Jim demanded it, in fact.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Have we ever put signs up telling the public which trails they're allowed to have e-bikes on and which trails they're not allowed to have e-bikes on? Because there's some of each.
There's some of each. We have not. Yes.
You think you could get that done before I'm off council?
I think we could.
Liar.
I think we could do our best. How about that?
Well, all kidding aside, I think it'd be a good idea, because I mean,
Yeah.
if people don't know that they are or not allowed to have them on certain ones, That was a
I
compliment.
didn't know that.
Yeah, so,
There's probably no other way of knowing.
yeah, the only two that you're not allowed to have e-bikes on is the Arizona Trail, which goes through town, and that loop trail that's in Buffalo Park. All the other Swiss trails, they're allowed.
When you're putting up a sign, the word motorized is vague because it's an electric motor on an e-bike and it's a gasoline motor on a bicycle that has a little chug gasoline motor. And then they're ultra small gasoline internal combustion powered two-wheelers. So when it says motorized, that to me says both categories. And I don't know if it's possible to do signage that would distinguish between a putt-putt and an electric.
It seems like I've seen that, signs that cover both. Which would be, I think what we would post, because neither one of them would be permitted on the trails that Jim referenced.
Well, the gasoline, technically, being an engineer, those are engines, although the public calls them motors. But gasoline, whatevers, are not allowed on any of the trails.
Okay, that's helpful to know.
I'm in favor of adopting an official terminology of putt-putt.
Good one, good one.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you. I didn't know that. As a matter of fact, my kid runs track at Buffalo Park, and I think the last meet there was an e-bike running there,
I wonder if someone should
you know, running.
tell, did someone tell Paul Mood that before he goes into the bathroom to turn his
Drive. You're not. Moving on, this set of trails here is part of Juniper Point and the STL 405 development next to it along John Wesley Powell. And the trails over here are part of Canyon del Rio. So those are the developments that we're currently working with. They're kind of in process, which is why we show them on this map. So we can reasonably expect those in the next 5 years, although development follows its own time frame and is not always predictable. Layering onto that, in blue are trails that are getting built as part of public capital projects. Again, these projects are more or less ongoing. This one is part of Beulah University. These are the trails that would be part of the Lone Tree Overpass. There's a short section of trail along 4th Street and Butler that would be part of the Butler 4th Corridor project. And then the trails over here are part of either the Downtown Mile or the Rio de Flag Flood Control Project. So while the city has more control over the projects that we work on, as you know, the Rio de Flag Flood Control Project has taken a number of years. It's gone in starts and stops.
Yeah.
And I'll put on orange on top of that are the projects that we're funding through Prop 419, the sales tax that appear in the 5-year regional plan, or the 5-year capital plan, rather. So Trail by Marshall School, Schweitzer Canyon, the Fox Glen Trail across Little America. And then if we could zoom in, this is a trail that would connect the Lone Tree Overpass with the NAU campus. Maybe we've talked about that before. This trail connects to the Ilara development, and what's shown in purple, they've already built. So it's continuing that trail connection from the Sawmill area down to Schweitzer Wash. This is what's currently in the existing capital plan. I've added a few others that we might consider thinking about adding because private development has taken place, which has built part of the trail, which we'll want to think about, setting some money aside to continuing when that happens. So one is at the far end of Canyon del Rio, connects the trail. We might actually show both of those here.
Gotcha.
So if this development takes place and we're able to do this, it creates a continuous trail. Similarly, this one's in the Bone Arrow Wash. And if Juniper Point builds, they're gonna stop their construction here. So if we want that trail to connect, we'd have a short section to build ourselves. This one is next to the Beulah University roundabout. And it essentially takes the trail that comes up from the underpass and extends it all the way onto campus. And then over here in Timber Sky, there are a couple opportunities to connect trails that they built. One of the connections would have to go across Route 66, which we'll have to have some conversation about how that gets done safely, because Route 66 tends to be pretty fast in that area. And then this one is at the other end. It would go out to Flag Ranch Road and provide kind of a natural ending place for that trail, or beginning place, I guess. There are two developments in the county on either side of this. And we're in the process of negotiating the easement for one of the developments for that trail to happen. So we may have most of the property rights. And then the other ones are kind of similar. They're small pieces at the ends of trails that are getting built as part of development. Any questions on that part of it? Comments, thoughts? And the last one I'll layer in. It's a lot, yeah. Is we call them single track access, and we briefly covered it in one of the slides on the different categories. These are places where the foots essentially serves a function that connects the foot system in town with the single track recreational trails in the forest. And in a lot of cases, we have them planned as ultimately as foots trails, but because they connect to recreational single track, they could probably function as a single track trail. They're much less expensive to build.
Those single track that are, I mean, you're saying going into the county, right? Those single tracks are also not e-bike, right? The county doesn't let e-bike on those single tracks.
It depends.
Gotcha.
I think unless the state by default allows e-bikes on trails, unless the entity that manages those trails specifically adopt something different that forbids them, prohibits them. But in the Forest Service, e-bikes are prohibited
On most
on most trails. They're allowed on trails that allow motorized motorcycles, dirt bikes, yeah, but other trails are not, yeah.
Okay, that's where I got confused. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to bikeways. Here, the categories in the capital plan are spot improvements, bikeway signing, bicycle parking, striping and marking, bike boulevards, and then we have money for the first mile, last mile grant. So this is our overall bikeway network by hierarchy. This is kind of a version of it that shows what's existing and what's planned. And we can do kind of the same thing, layer in public projects. This is John Wesley Powell.
Wait, I'm sorry. So the black is what's existing now?
Yes,
Okay. And is that including the primary, secondary, and tertiary?
yes.
So I need that redefined for me because I forget what the difference
Uh,
are.
Sure. Think of primary as a bike route that you would take to get across town.
Okay,
So if you lived in Fox Glen and we're coming downtown, you could take one bikeway the whole way.
okay.
Secondary are kind of between neighborhoods and to get you from your neighborhood to a higher level facility. And then the tertiary are the very local ones. So to get from your neighborhood to outside of your neighborhood or to another bikeway. So that's kind of how they function.
Is there like criteria for what they look like or guidelines for what they look like? Or just any bike lane or?
It kind of depends. You'll see this in more detail in the next couple of meetings, but there are different facilities planned for it depending on what opportunities there are, like how much space there is. what's existing there now, how important it is, like is it a primary or a tertiary, how much traffic, that sort of thing. So it won't be, like one bikeway won't be consistent. It may consist of a foot trail and then switch to bike lanes and then be a separated. What pulls it together is signing, so you follow signing rather than, does that make sense?
No, I love that. Yeah, I have another question, but maybe right now is, I'll let you keep going.
So the idea of like a foot trail, either it's there or it's not, either it's existing or it's planned. With a bikeway, a street may currently have bike lanes, but we may have it planned for buffered bike lanes, for example. So there's something there, but we may have something higher level in mind. Like on Butler Avenue, for example, there's bike lanes, but we want separated bike lanes. So that the notion of it being complete is a little bit slippery in that case, because there's something there, but it may not be the ultimate thing that happens. And we're gonna be opportunistic, and try to close gaps where there's nothing, might be a priority over upgrading something that's there already. So it gets more complicated to bikeways.
Yeah, no, that,
Do you want to ask your question?
well, I guess, like the signage, what will the signage say or reflect? Like, will it be routes, like recommended routes to get places, or?
Yes, it'd be recommended route. So see this purple line right here? If you lived in Presidio and wanted to get into the university, you'd probably take that. So it has a number, I think it's 26, and a name, which I think is university. And so you would follow the signing for the number 26 university bike route. And then wherever it takes you, you turn left on this street, you would follow that signing, knowing that the number 26 university bike route takes you into the university.
Right. Well,
We have only done a little bit of work, looked at kind of examples of signing, but we have to do a lot more work. So. Okay, so here's generally what's existing and what's planned. These are bikeways that are built as part of public projects. So again, Mueller University, our Butler conversion, Bowling Green overpass, John Wesley Powell, and Butler Fourth corridor. Almost all of these are separated. John Wesley Powell would be buffered bike lanes. Initially and long term, it could be separated bike lanes. And I don't know, I'm afraid that might be tough to see. These are the striping projects that are part of first mile, last mile. And these show longer corridors, but it really kind of depends. In some cases, we're just adding a bike lane where it's missing. In some cases, we're taking an existing bike lane and making it buffered. In some cases, we're using green cross bike markings at intersections along the corridor. Ben knows a lot about this project.
A little bit. So hang on, a side tangent, I'll bring that up later.
So none of these are construction, they're all striping, but it will hopefully help complete the network that we have and enhance parts of it. And that's it, that's mappable for bikeways. There are a few other categories here that kind of involve bikeways, but also involve ancillary facilities like the signing we talked about, bikeway parking. Okay, sidewalks generally have just two categories, individual sidewalk corridors and then sidewalk infill. Here's our system of public sidewalks. Existing is in gray, missing is shown in red, and we only inventoried sidewalks on major streets because there are too many neighborhoods that are missing sidewalks. It would be too many to inventory and to try to find funding to fill in. So we just did major streets. Here are the sidewalks that are part of public projects, Mueller University, Butler Fourth Corridor. And then there's a drainage project up here that we're adding a sidewalk to along Linda Vista. Again, I apologize, this is so hard to see, but these are the sidewalks we're building as part of first mile, last mile. These are the sidewalks we have included in the capital plan. So 4th Street, Forest Meadows and Highland Mesa. Will that help?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then the last category, the smallish red ones are infill projects, so short, missing pieces of sidewalk that we can kind of group together and do as a single project. Enhanced crossings, gray is what's existing, orange is planned. An enhanced crossing is anything that's at grade, so you're crossing a street. But the enhancement gives you something more to make it safe. So it could be a refuge island. It could be crosswalk markings. In a lot of cases, it's either the flashing amber beacons or the flashing red traffic signals that make it enhanced. And we've got kind of an idea for all these, like what level of enhancement is necessary based on the speed of traffic, the volume of traffic, and how many legs you have to cross, how far you have to cross, how wide the road is, basically. Blue shows the crossings that are part of another project. So there's 2 along Butler as part of the Butler's Complete Streets. There's 1 over by Little America that would be part of Butler 4th. They're actually doing another one here at Block that isn't shown on this map. And then this is improvements to the intersection of Oakmont and Country Club.
Yeah, that's great. That corner's, it's deader.
We can layer in the first mile, last mile crossings. There's 3 on Fort Valley, including 1 at Fort Valley and Forest, which would likely be the red flashing version.
That doesn't work for someone who is colorblind.
Like red, green.
They know
colorblind.
it blinks, but they don't know the color because it's not in this position, so.
It's an interesting point.
Are you colorblind?
No, but I've driven with some friends of mine who have issues with it all the time because they don't know. You know, they have to learn the light because they don't know where it is, but if it was in 3 colors positionally, everyone would know. And then the outside would also know, you know.
So the only other flashing light that would be at crossings would be an amber one.
Yeah, still,
So in either case, if it's an amber one, that's an indication that you're to yield to a pedestrian that's in that crossing. So they'd have to yield. The red one means they have to stop.
they have to stop. And that's what
Yeah.
the real issue. I think I've heard, you know, the gentleman I know knows to yield, but it's hard to tell when to stop, right? So he has to, he has to ask the passenger, is that yellow or is that red? You know,
At least I'm sure the ones with red lights have supplementary signs on them
right,
that say.
right. Or red,
stop
yellow, green. I mean, that's pretty easy to, and universally on our planet, you know.
Actually not. In some countries, instead of being 1, 2, 3, they're
Yeah,
1, 2,
it's 1, 2,
3,
3, exactly, but
which I think is confusing.
yeah.
One of those countries is Tempe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they have a lot Tempe has a lot of hawk systems that have the red, green and yellow and
But the horizontal position is the same, so you just need to learn
To learn that,
vertical
yeah,
and horizontal. So the 2 other on Fort Valley are just islands. The 2 on Lake Mary would be amber flashing beacons. And then 5 on Solier would be just crossing islands.
Gotcha.
All of these are located in conjunction with transit stops. Because the first mile, last mile is a transit grant intended to enhance access to transit.
I'm 9 Cola.
And then these 3 are in the capital budget that would be standalone projects. This one's at Fine and Humphreys. This one's somewhere along Milton, and this is the one along Foots Trail.
Yes, thank you. I'm doing well, thank you.
So in other words, there's money in the capital plan for those 3. Grade separated crossings are bridges or tunnels. We also include, like if there's a road that goes under railroad tracks, for example, we'll call it an underpass. and we'll plan for it to make sure that it has facilities for peds and bikes. So, let's use an example. The one, what's a good one? The, overpass on Woody Mountain Road over I-40 exists as an overpass, but there are no facilities for peds and bikes on it. So our plan would plan for how to add ped and bike facilities to it. That's not a good example because that one's really hard to add ped and bike facilities without just rebuilding the whole thing.
I call it the bridge of death,
There you go.
because I run across
Bridge
it
of
all the
death.
time. It's not great.
Austin Aslan brought that very crossing up at the the Metro Plan meeting this morning.
Is that right?
Yes.
We were just talking about it this week, so there must be some kind of conversion.
Synergy.
We were talking about the appropriate way to go over that bridge. Is to take a deep breath, close your eyes, and pedal as fast as you can. Okay, so here we have a handful that are planned as part of public projects. So the group downtown is part of Downtown Mile and Rio to Flag. This set is part of the Lone Tree Overpass. And if we looked in detail, it would be Route 66 trail goes underneath Lone Tree. A planned foots on the other side of the tracks goes underneath the bridge. So there's a couple of opportunities here in one structure. This one is the Beulah University one that's, I'm not sure if it's open yet.
I think Friday, didn't I say Friday? Yeah.
Tomorrow, okay.
Wow.
This is the underpass at Butler. So this is one where we have sidewalks but not bike lanes, and there's a plan. I'm not sure if it will happen in 5 years to add bike lanes potentially.
Wow. Just painting, right?
In the short term, yeah, in the longer term, there might be other options.
Nice.
And then these three are part of John Wesley Powell, and they represent, if we saw the alignment for John Wesley Powell, we'd see that it goes over these three. And this one's actually part of Lone Tree, but there's foot trails planned at each one of these locations. So a new road and planned foot trails. We have a little bit of work to do. I think generally these are kind of the projects we're looking at. They're not too dissimilar from last year's with the exception of some of the foot trails that we looked at. We'll take a look in more detail to see if there are other projects that might have risen in importance since we did this last year. And then we have to kind of plug in cost estimates for each one of them, plan it out over 5 years and then submit all that by January 19th. So we'll come back to the January meeting, kind of give you an update.
Yeah.
If you know. In the meantime, if we're able to provide information in a little bit more readable, usable format.
And pardon me if you said this already, but in maintaining existing trails, that's a different plan than this one.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
like that spot on the 66 flats that's just completely chewed up and you can have like this much, that a different place.
Yes and no. If it's asphalt, we have a budget item for repair and or
Okay.
replacement of asphalt
I don't need
trails.
to worry about that for now.
Is it the part of 66 that's asphalt?
Yeah.
That's part of the, yeah.
It's under the trees.
Yeah, it goes like this. And, yeah, everybody knows what I'm talking about.
We all love that.
Yeah,
At night especially.
Yeah.
but different conversation.
Once you've been there a few times, you know, like we're veer this way.
Exactly, right.
Like,
But the people coming
And
this
hope
way.
someone's not coming in. And it's summer with all the trees in, so you can't see when you're.
Yeah. I got prairie dog runs across.
Marty brags that his bike knows it.
my bike knows the way now. The other thing that, we probably talked about this last year and the year before, but we struggle with like how to show this information to the public. And I think we could do better at that. So we're working on some different ways that we can have online maps that provide this information. The public should know. I mean, and then, part of that is if we're showing them what we're planning to do, we need to follow through on those things and actually build these things in a timely manner.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a bit of a struggle the last couple of years, but the city's capital division is close to being fully staffed, so we have more resources to help deliver projects. We have Chris online and Carlton here in transportation, so we have a bit more resources to help actually get some of this money spent on projects delivered.
All right. So that was the 5-year capital plan. Next is the 2025 BAC meeting schedule.
In the agenda, I kind of provided two options for meeting for next year. First would be that we keep our regular schedule, which is the first Thursday of every month. And the alternative would be moving it to the third Thursday of every month. So the advantage of moving it would be that our schedule would fall below in front of Transportation Commission.
Yeah.
So whenever things needed to go through this committee to Transportation Commission, that timing would work out a little bit better.
That would work out and they'd have a week. Look at the, whatever we.
Probably more than that, because they're the first Wednesday of every month.
Okay, so that'd be the third, oh, it'd be third, fourth. Yeah, you're right.
Next week, we're gonna ask the Pedestrian Advisory Committee to have the same discussion. They meet the second Thursday, and we'll ask them if they're okay with moving to the fourth Thursday
Gotcha.
of every month. We checked, this room is available for both BAC and PAC. I believe that Sustainability Commission meets the third Thursday, so it would conflict with your meeting. So to the extent that somebody wanted to go to sustainability and the bike advisory, they'd have to pick one or the other. And then for PAC, I think the Water Commission meets on the fourth Thursday. That seems like less of a topical conflict or overlap than sustainability and bike advisory. So this is entirely up to you.
Yeah, I would. That the other members aren't here. I'd love to hear opinions from the whole crew, you know. I do think, like, when I think of the Fox Glen project and how we met and talked and had some great ideas, but the decision was already made by the time we met, you know.
Well, and for the regional plan, we had to have an extra meeting
Right.
to prepare it in time. 2 extra meetings. Okay, yeah, we've met like every week this last month, so.
Yeah.
So I definitely support moving to the third.
To the third week.
Yeah.
Personally, it doesn't mess with my schedule at all, so I could make it happen, but.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Yeah. The first Thursday is like, it's arbitrary anyway, so.
Yeah,
Exactly. For everybody.
Yeah. Estella, what would you, I'd love to hear your opinions on it.
Yeah, I'm also fine with the third Thursday. I agree. I think this has been a problem in general where, you know, we meet and then the Transportation Commission meets and it just doesn't quite align. Or sorry, it's the opposite anyways. But so yeah, I support us, you know, the Transportation Commission going first and then we meet, so.
Awesome. Well, how do you all feel about making that meeting without the entire committee? That's my only concern with it all, is that
Making that decision.
making that decision, right? So, like, for example, if Daniel's unable to make it, I'm gonna be a bummer to hear if his, you know, schedule doesn't allow or any of that stuff, so. But
That's something we could like send out over email or.
yeah, I guess, Martin, the question I'd have for you is what options would you suggest we do at this point? We have 4 of us that think we would benefit from doing it the third week because we would then be able to get our decisions to the Transportation Commission, which is what we're a part of, so it kind of makes sense to do it.
Yeah, we can't make decisions by email as a group, but what I can do is I'll reach out to Daniel and Sam,
Okay,
just check with them individually if they have any conflicts.
great.
On that Thursday. If they don't, we'll move forward
That'd be great.
with a new schedule. If they do, we'll have to kind of reassess and then potentially bring it back.
That sounds good to me. And do we need to vote on that?
You don't, I don't think we had it as a
Perfect.
action item.
Great.
So just that direction. What typically on this December meeting, we would just give you the list of meeting dates for the next year.
Okay.
But pending response from Daniel and Sam, we'll do that and send it out. Then I think you all are given invitations to the Teams meeting and online meeting. So
Yeah, perfect.
as soon as we find out, we'll go through all that at the end of the year.
Great. That sounds awesome. Awesome. Next item is the CenturyLink letter. If you guys remember in the last meeting, so
I have a copy of the draft.
yeah, let's pass that on. So, so in the last meeting, actually 2 meetings prior, they had talked about us writing a letter to the editor thanking CenturyLink. So CenturyLink donated 2 parking spaces for bike parking only, right by the pay and take there. And have you seen it? It's
Yeah.
gorgeous looking. That's awesome. They did a really nice job with that area. And so, I had wrote this letter with the help of ChatGPT, of course, to thank them. A letter to the editor of the Daily Sun thanking them for their help. And so I submitted it, and I thought that you guys would want to read it and see if it's something we'd want to do as a committee. I think we had talked last week about, because I was also okay just doing it on my own personally, but if we wanted to do it on behalf of the committee, and I think we did vote, we wanted to do it on behalf of the committee last time. Did we say that or no?
I think we held it to this meeting.
Okay, great. So then we have two decisions to talk about. Is this letter appropriate? You guys like it or want it? You want to shred it a new one or make any changes? And do we want to send it on behalf of the Bike Advisory Council? And if not, I can send it personally and put a little paragraph in there that says I'm sending this on behalf of myself and not on behalf of any committee at all, kind of thing. But I do find that companies like this that do things like this should, I wrote a letter to ADOT similarly, thanking them for the work they did on Country Club. And I sent them a letter and they ended up putting it in their end of year, ADOT thing. So it was like, they just like to have, so anything positive, I think is good to share out there. So.
What's the nonprofit bicycle group in town? I'm blocking on the name.
The
FBO, bike biking.
FBO, the Flag Biking Org, or
Yeah,
NASCAR.
would there be any point in asking if they want to be co-signers on such a thank you letter?
Question, I don't know. I've not been a part of FBO. Has anyone else here been I think Daniel may have been, right? Is he?
I mean, I could shoot them an email telling them that we are sending a letter and they should do a letter as well.
Do a letter as well. That's a good idea.
Right, 2 letters instead
Yeah,
of
because
one letter.
the more the merrier, right?
Yeah. Okay. I will volunteer for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any like plaque on the area that says that this?
I don't know.
I don't remember seeing that when I was there.
It's funny. I lost my e-bike's broke, so I have been driving for the past 2 weeks and it's driving me crazy. So I drove past it. I wasn't able to stop. And
No, I like stopped and took photos, but I don't remember
Nice.
there being anything that said that this area was
For bikes or.
like
Donated.
donated, like this space was
Give
donated by
them
CenturyLink.
their name recognition.
Yeah. I don't know if
That's a
that's
great
sufficient.
idea. Yeah,
I'll find out. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
yeah, that's great.
Just one clarification. They actually didn't donate 2 parking spaces there. It's a license agreement, so they're letting us use them.
Oh, great.
They retain ownership.
Okay.
They retain some vague right to take them back at some point. If they ever need them.
Right.
It
For,
was unlikely.
yeah, so I'll have to figure out another word for that.
Providing.
for providing
Providing.
parking spaces.
Allowed use of.
It's non-committal.
I like that it's specific, the 20 to 24 bicycle parking spots, depending on how they're arranged.
There's a theoretical opportunity.
Could be like two, depending
Yeah.
on who it is.
Okay, all right, I can make a change to that here. And actually, now that they've done it, right? To be converted, I can kind of change all that because I wrote it last month before it was done.
That's good.
Yeah. So I will also change that to current tense and make those changes here and I don't know how, I have to look at the photos to see how many spaces there are. And now you can look and be like, there's 20.
Right, and I guess it depends how many bikes you would have put to
Right.
each rack, but there weren't, like, they were just the ones that you can attach multiple bikes to, but I think there
Yeah.
were two of them.
Yeah, two sets in that.
Yeah.
3 or 4. If you
Or maybe they-
get hold of me tomorrow, I'll give you an exact.
Okay, that's great. Well, tomorrow's not gonna work for me.
Yeah.
I can call you in the morning, actually. Do that in the morning.
I could count it on my home.
Yeah, that's right. I will send you an email tomorrow and then you can respond. And then in the next couple, 3-4 days, I'll try to look at reviewing and changing this again. And can I send this to you, Martin, the revisions, and then you can share them out when you need to, or?
Or can we vote to like send it on behalf of us with the changes we talked about, so we don't have to talk about it again?
That sounds good.
I have a
Okay.
video of it on my phone. But when I was there were only two, I think.
Oh,
The
yeah.
one and then two.
One and then two
And then
there.
there's the gate there, so
Yeah.
thinking that they couldn't block the gate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah,
And then,
awesome.
but I didn't see a plaque, I don't see a plaque.
Okay.
The only other
No
thing,
plaque, yeah.
I think we're the bicycle advisory committee, not the bike advisory.
Bicycle, you're right. Thank you.
This letter to CenturyLink.
All right.
And it's good. They're making many changes, which is great. One of the things I'm already gonna do is change, because this letter was written over a month ago and they've already put it in. So the letter is saying to be converted into, well, it's been converted into a bike lane.
Okay.
For that as well, they didn't donate the space. They
Provided.
provided it. So I'm gonna say allowing for the use of, which I, so.
License it to it.
Might want to change there to your initiative.
That
Second paragraph,
second paragraph.
since you're speaking to something.
Right.
Yeah, love it.
Like the town.
Thank you.
You can ask for more.
Well, you know what I also like that was kind of put in here, I think it also hopefully can be read by other businesses who may say, hey, well, why don't we look at some of this stuff?
Okay. Probably don't get a lot of fan mail there either.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to send it to them? I could look up who we had for contacts.
I would absolutely love to send it to
They
them
were
or,
both local, like people who worked in this building as well as CenturyLink
CenturyLink.
and Phoenix, like they're more regional.
100%, yes, 100%. And then my question to you, actually, so the way, it's really simple to do letter to the editor, just the form that you fill out and submit. I could do it, but I didn't know, Martin, would that something you'd rather do, or who should be doing it? I mean, if I'm a part of the committee, I could do it on behalf of the committee.
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay, I will do it.
For instance, if you want to send a formal letter to CenturyLink, just provide me with the text and we can put it on the city's letterhead. Okay. We just went through this with a letter that Val wrote.
Yeah.
Daniel signed it.
This letter will be telling them that we're sending this to the Daily Sun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. like I said, it'll be about a week or a couple days before I start doing any of that, except for the email in the morning.
For the other letter, we had the chair sign it.
Yeah.
Does a group want to do that?
Yeah.
Except it's not a signature thing in the letter to the editor, but the formal one absolutely, I think would be, yeah.
Do we need to vote on it?
No, it's not an action item, but we have direction to do that.
Apologize for being late.
Any other changes you will see? Great, I will make those changes as quick as I can. We'll send them to Martin. And I'm gonna have Martin review it one more time, if you're okay with that, Martin, and then I'll do the letter to the editor. And I'll make sure that you send it with the signature. So I'm not sending it like, and then you send the letter 4 days later or anything like that. So I'll wait till you say you send it and then I'll do the Daily Sun thing.
Okay.
So when I do the letter, I'll let them know whenever the Daily Sun decides to post it, because it may take a week or so to do it.
Do they let you know, or does it just show up?
Depends on the day too, right? If there's a lot of news. on there.
It just shows up. They don't tell you.
You're like, okay.
And the limit's 250 words. I don't know what this is.
Is it? Cause I thought it was an attachment. I don't know.
250 words is all we'll take.
How many letters to that are
Well, then I may have to revise this. So,
Maybe half a dozen over the years.
yeah.
Easier than going through the city council to get anything done, huh?
I may have to revise that. And if so, I will revise it using all of these comments. And I will show it to Martin to review so he can look at it. And when I send the letter that will go to the editor, I will give them this version. I'm sorry, when I send the letter to CenturyLink, that'll be the certified. I can show you, Martin, give you this version and the short one where we can, if we wanted to send them this long one, we could too. And that would be, you know what I mean? If it's longer than 250. Good to know. Okay. Any other questions on the letter?
Very good work, Kevin.
Thank you.
One more item before we leave that. There is going to be kind of a grand opening ribbon cutting next week. I
Nice.
think the public is invited. I will send you the invitation for that tomorrow morning.
Oh, that'd be great. So if we could get that for the opening, huh? Oh, man. Okay.
Bring the big snowstorm. Unrelated. We're due. It feels
Yeah,
like
right.
something that could bring a nice snowstorm.
It does look like that, right? Yeah, that's funny. Okay, great. Next on the agenda, old business. How's our time doing?
We're doing good.
So, regional plan 2045?
This was just an item, the Transportation Commission met last night. They reviewed the minutes from from the meeting the special meeting we held to discuss the regional plan. They had nothing, they thought they were very happy to have it.
Oh, great.
They passed it on without really any additional comments. So it will go to Sarah Dector, who was here at our November meeting, as just the comments from the BAC. Just a reminder that the commenting on the regional plan is open till December 19th, and you're all invited, encouraged, able to comment as individuals on it. There's a platform that it uses called Conveo, which allows people to comment and then people to comment on comments. And I'm really I haven't done it yet, but I'm really curious to go see what kind of comments.
Fun. Like,
Yeah,
so
what?
you click on just random things and you're like, oh, I like that. Thumbs up. We're like, nah, I don't agree with that.
So we can thumbs down your thumbs up or thumbs up your thumbs?
Yeah, yeah.
Funny.
Just like Facebook.
It's just like Facebook.
You want me to send a reminder email with the links about commenting individually?
Sure.
I'm not sure what more we could add. I think
Well, and
I've said it all.
yeah, I think we said it all.
I added some stuff.
Oh, you did? Okay.
You'll have to go read it now. Everyone's like.
On your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
yeah, and again, I want to thank you all for doing that. I really appreciate you doing it. I'm sorry I couldn't be there.
How's your recovery gone?
I'm doing good. Again, with surgeries Friday, so,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
yeah, so it's,
good luck.
thank you. Awesome. So anything else on that agenda item? All right, number 5, bikeways plan.
The only thing really here is, it's addressed a little bit in the regional plan item above. There are a handful of what's called policy maps. And there are a number of what's called informational maps, and the policy maps carry greater weight. And the policy maps include the future road network illustration, functional class. It includes the foots map. It includes our bikeways map that shows the hierarchies that we looked at earlier. And it includes a map that shows separated crossings and grade separated crossings. And we've gone through and changed the road illustration map to reflect all the things that have happened since the last time the regional plan was adopted. And kind of a follow-up step, we'll be going back and adjusting the bikeways plan, the foots plan, and those crossings plan based on the new roadway thing. So for example, we looked at locations of 3 underpasses along JWP. Those locations reflected the old alignment for JWP, so we have to update that to show the new alignment. And like that wouldn't be much of an issue, but in other cases, like if we're adding new roadways and new crossings or underpasses appear, we want to make sure that's captured in the policy map. And there's still time to do it before December 19th, so we have an opportunity to update those things. That's we can provide you with kind of with how that turned out. I don't think we necessarily need to review it or have it argued by this committee.
Going back to the previous agenda item, did they have any response to our comments about scheduling? The transportation?
Oh, I guess that's.
Perfect.
And you
Oh, is
can
that-
ask him as well.
So we actually had an agenda item that we just covered.
Oh, was that already taken care of?
Well, so we've talked about the idea of a 2025 BAC meeting schedule, and what we talked about is moving our Thursdays to, instead of the first, to the third week.
Yeah.
And so we were all on board with it. We wanted to make sure everyone else is
Does that work with you, Martin?
Yeah.
Okay.
and so then they'd have, they meet on the first week, so they'd give them 10 days or so that whatever choices we make, they get to see in advance.
Does that work for you, Carl? Okay.
Awesome.
We checked room availability and conflicts with other commissions, and the Sustainability Commission meets that evening as well.
Oh, great.
That would be,
Yeah,
they
we like them too.
They meet in a different room, so this room is available.
We could have a suspect meeting. Does that work with FPD too? That, third Thursday?
That's fine for me.
And the Transportation Commission was generally supportive of that move when we brought it up last night. They had no issues with it.
Perfect. All right, so on to concluding general business, reports and updates.
Let's see, we can go through these one by one. Nothing new on Kaibab Lane. We have made contact with the property owner, but haven't managed to work anything out. Fox Glen, your letter was sent to the Transportation Commission. They really didn't bring it up at the meeting last night. There wasn't an agenda item for it. It came up, the part of it regarding scheduling came up when we talked about this group potentially moving their meeting night.
Art, can I interject a quickie?
Sure.
Transportation Commission is thinking of having a liaison to this committee, you know, BAC and PAC, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, thanks for bringing, I forgot that. Thanks for
Yeah.
bringing that up.
I just thought I'd throw that in.
Idea.
We should have liaisons.
Well, maybe you should have a liaison to Transportation Committee. So everybody's gonna be going every day.
Hey, it's better than us not getting,
Heard, yeah.
us not getting hurt and us not being able to help the way we want to help.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like tonight I'm here and I'm throwing in little things here and there that I know about because I've gone to both meetings. So if you had a liaison, they could serve that purpose. Whatever.
So if anyone wants to be the official liaison, that would be cool. What, I don't know if anyone has that kind of time. We could also like kind of have people volunteer to be like, okay, I'm gonna go to like the February Transportation Commission meeting. I could go to the March one, so we could at least have one of us represented. Cause I couldn't commit to all of them, but I could commit to a couple.
Floating liaison.
That's a great.
Floating liaison.
Keep them on there too.
Who's it gonna be this time?
Does transportation meet monthly or every other month?
Every other month.
Okay, I thought I read. That's a little less commitment, but still.
Yeah.
I like that idea, though.
Yeah, I
Feels
agree.
hard to,
Yeah.
go all in.
And I think it would help for this committee if everyone got to experience it a little bit too anyway.
Yeah.
So it makes the committee stronger.
How would we do that? Would we just,
Well, I think what we could do is that once their schedule comes out and we know their dates, we can just kind of divvy it up at one of our meetings.
yeah, just plan it for the whole year. I like that.
And we can do a check-in, but at the kind of our meeting before their meeting, just to make,
Yeah.
in case something comes up.
And then you could remind us and say, Daniel, it's your turn to go.
You promised.
Does it have to be decided long ahead of time and posted?
No.
I'm thinking,
No.
let's say something like this letter is going, then it would make sense for Kevin to go. Or last time the regional plan, seemed like Sam took the lead a bit, so it makes sense for her to go.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Keep it real
Well,
flexible.
we wouldn't know, yeah.
Love it.
Because we wouldn't really know what might pique our interest and what we might start getting into.
Yeah, so we won't. Yes, I'm just saying, before we schedule it out a year, you might maybe just schedule it out during each meeting, decide who.
Draw short crowd.
So I think another part of that is we probably need to start sharing the Transportation Commission agenda, with you all.
And that was in our letter too, I think. Were they open to that?
That didn't come up.
Okay. Well, if it didn't come up, then they agreed to it.
Great.
Then it's in Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, continuing reports and updates. C, pedestrian recall. I think we got our update from Kevin on that. Thank you. for the Announcements. We mentioned briefly the asphalt foots repair and replacement. We've collected a bunch of information. We've done some costing. We've met with the city's pros department. I think as a next step, we're going out to some contractors and some designers to get a little bit of further information and have some version of plans prepared. Just in general terms, what we're looking at is a couple of different options for treating asphalt trails. So depending on the condition of the trail and how well it's used and what its function is, kind of the lowest level repair would be to repair all the cracks. We have 4 different levels of crack repair, beginning with just filling the crack if it's relatively small, to cutting it out and like redoing the trail for that section if it's pretty severe. some of the severe cracks, what's happened is water has gotten through and undermine the subgrade. And once the subgrade is undermined in an asphalt trail, that crack will appear forever unless you fix the subgrade. So the idea is to fix that subgrade. And then once the cracks are repaired, we'd either do some kind of like a liquid surface over the top or like a full asphalt coat over the top. One being more expensive at kind of a higher level. And then for the trails that are in the worst shape, we're probably just going to replace the asphalt with new asphalt. What we're looking at is there are different grades of asphalt and they're intended for different purposes. We suspect that most of the foots trails were built with street grade asphalt. And I'll spare you a lot of the details, but a trail can use a much more flexible version of asphalt and that will help it last longer. A lot of the cracking that occurs is called, I can't remember now what it's called, but it's related to as asphalt dries out, it shrinks. And as it shrinks, it will crack. Once it cracks and water gets in, it undermines the subgrade and the whole thing is falling apart. So with better asphalt, that's a little bit more pliable. We won't get as much of that cracks from shrinkage. Anyway, the point being that we're trying to think through the best way to do this. We've not had great success with asphalt, but I think that there's a number of things that we can do to make it longer lasting. We're also considering programming into the capital plan money every 5 years to treat the asphalt with a slurry coat or a seal coat, which essentially is oil that refreshes, like moistens the asphalt again so it lasts longer. And this is kind of standard asphalt practices to help it last longer. We kind of came to this conclusion because I think most of our trails are in pretty poor shape. I think it would be difficult at this point to treat some and not others. I think they all need some level of treatment. We will have to find some of the money. I think we have about $2 million available in the capital budget already and in out years. And so we may have to find a little bit more than that to help pay for it, but we have a plan for moving forward. If it all falls into place, I think we'll be able to do it next spring or summer. Or, yeah.
So we won't need a full suspension mountain bike anymore.
Not for this, for other things.
For that route, it's just going back to that Route 66 path. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that had like a painted like dividing lane line at one point, right? Is there?
Not for a very, very long time.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I don't know, is that something that would be refreshed or do people want that refreshed? I don't know. I mean, it was only one time, but I've had somebody like basically yell at me and tell me I'm not allowed to ride my bike there before. That might help.
Oh, I have that too.
That might help with that misunderstanding, 'cause it's like,
Like you're not allowed on the trail generally?
Yeah,
yeah.
a guy with a 20-foot dog leash in his back, it's like, get out.
Yeah. That too, now that you say that.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Like, there is remnants of paint in some spots,
Right.
you know, like,
There's remnants, yeah.
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 I think that's a conversation that we could have.
Sure.
We typically don't put that stripe on.
Yeah.
Our trails, other places do. I mean, I'm sure you've been on trails that have that center stripe.
Yeah, that trail's kind of unique though. I feel like in some ways it's just a little wider than
Yeah,
others
yeah.
and busier, but I'm fairly indifferent. I was just curious.
The primary reasons we haven't are I think that the city's foots trails are generally fairly informal compared to a lot of trails.
Yeah.
It may not be a good reason to do it, but and it's just the maintenance as well. Like there's changes from having to do that. I have seen places that have like a center stripe and then edge stripes. And I think, how do they do that? We can also do, like, might be possible to do the center stripe in certain places, like maybe after and before intersections, or like to get people going, but not everywhere. I don't know.
And then there will eventually be bikeway signage, which will help as well.
Right,
Yeah.
that's true.
I like the just right after the intersection. That kind of sets the tone.
Not just a sidewalk.
Yeah.
But you know, because there is a sidewalk and it's not. Well, I guess in some places it becomes the, yeah.
Moving along, I included speed bumps because it came up at one of our previous meetings, and I meant to look to the council's agenda. Do you know offhand
If we've talked about speed bumps,
if when it's coming back? I don't think you've talked about it yet.
I don't remember. I know that generally speed bumps are not liked because of snow plowing. And like the ones they put in Boulder Point are very gradual and long. I mean, there's, you know, as wide as this table. So they're really just a very, as opposed to a boom, boom.
There's speed table instead of speed
Yeah.
bump.
There, is that the name for it? Yeah.
I designed those.
Oh, he knows more than I
Say
do.
nice things about them. Does that help with snow? Does the table help with the snow?
Yes.
Cool.
I'll check the council's working agenda and see if that's coming out or not, just so we kind of keep track of it. F is first mile, last mile, and we covered a bit of it and saw the projects. We're continuing to review plans for it and making progress. I think we have a meeting tomorrow. Can I tell them, Ben? Ben's the chief design. The engineer is working on it. And doing a great job, I might add, for a very difficult client.
Easy by a difficult project.
Safe Streets for All, the Butler Avenue Complete Streets. We're continuing to work through the federal process for getting the grant agreement. So it's going. We're close. I think we'll be able to go out before too long to get a design on the board.
That's for the Butler redesign?
Yeah. H is the Safe Streets Master Plan. Internally, that's moving forward. Metro Plan is kind of leading the project, but the city is involved. Chris has been leading the city's efforts. They've gone through a series of scoping interviews with internal staff people. And we're starting to have schedule some meetings to resolve the scope of the document. So once we kind of have a better idea of what we want the document to be, we'll go out to a contractor or a consultant, probably through an RFOQ or RSOQ, request for statements of qualifications, which is a process that allows us to pick the most qualified consultant to do it. Transportation alternatives, Safe Routes to School. That's Carlton's project. If you have any.
We have a consultant on board for it. Nelson Nygaard's gonna bring in with that. And they're just working up cost right now. So that one was done in that SOQ way as well. And then now we're working through the actual contract. So no design has happened yet.
They're gonna be looking generally at the streets in the Sunnyside area for.
Yeah, there's, you guys don't know anything more about it. There's three areas that's looking at. We're trying to look into a left turn out of Pine Cliff onto Forest for buses to make to help serve the basis school, and then there's another school going in there. They're looking at just a suite of different projects around Knowles on Butler. And then a little bit of a surrounding radius to just see what they can do there. By fast moving Butler and the elementary and middle school, Knowles and Sinawa too. And then we combined all the schools up in the northeast from Coconino to Mount Eldon Middle School down to Killip, and so just maybe full on corridor master plans of sorts or corridor redesign ideas along mostly Cedar and 4th Street. and other things as necessary on Sixth, probably.
Yeah, that corridor has so many cars trying to get in and out there. So many minivans.
Okay, and the last item is a major capital projects, and Jim, if you want to do this one, I was just gonna talk about AWP concrete.
Well, I guess what I could say is that on Tuesday, council basically signed agreements with the major landowners out at along John Wesley Powell. And, you know, working out all these details of who pays for what and where the road's gonna go and who pays for the underpasses and all that. And then, we came to an agreement on the concrete batch plant that has to move before we put Lone Tree, road in. So a lot of progress has been made in the last week. A lot of work was done by our legal staff and by, you know, everybody concerned. Council had an extra meeting on it, on Monday. And so that we could get it approved on Tuesday. Sorry, I had one more comment, but unrelated to this. Is that enough on this?
Yeah, I think both of those projects will go fast now. I think.
Oh, yeah.
They're sort of significant.
I mean, it's like, since I've been on council, we've been talking about this stuff. Now it's starting to happen. Sort of like Rio, the flood control project, a lot more is happening on that than had happened in a long time. The other comment I want to make is that the city is going to be putting in a private contractor is some cable underground. And there's two options. One is you dig a nice big trench and put the cable in and conduit or whatever. But the other one is a lot more cost effective. It's called micro trenching. Now I can imagine making a trench about that wide when my tires are about that wide. And if you're going perpendicular to the trench, no problem. But if you're going parallel to it, and okay, when they finish it, it's all finished nice. But I know how that goes. A year or two later, that asphalt will kind of erode away. Can you imagine? It's sort of like you'd be driving down, you know how like railroad tracks are in the pavement. You don't want to drive parallel to the railroad tracks that are in the pavement because it's going to throw you off. So Martin, I might suggest that you and staff kind of coordinate with the IT people about that, because, and I did express it at one of the meetings that I was concerned about it, and I am concerned about it. So,
Appreciate those comments. It is on our radar. We do have a requirement when you do saw cutting of asphalt or trenching, that if it's in a bike lane, it be done at the bike lane line or outside. So it,
even that's scary, because I mean, sometimes we meander over,
Yeah.
like two bicycles pass each
Yeah.
other or whatever.
Or trash cans in the bike
There's,
lane.
yeah,
yeah, I mean, keeping it out of the bike lane keeps that longitudinal crack from being in the bike lane.
Yeah.
If it opens up in the.
Again, if it's perpendicular, it's probably not an issue,
Yeah,
but when it's parallel or semi-parallel, it's scary.
so the question with the micro trenching is like for traffic control purposes, the best place to do it is in the bike lane. So we're working through that. Because you're outside of the travel lane.
Well, I'm glad that you're aware of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for thinking about that, Jim. Like nightmare fuel.
Is that like most streets? It would be,
I don't know, you know, I don't think it's been decided. But it's coming.
You're gonna miss your bus if you don't go, isn't it?
well, I'm on bike today, yeah, that was.
Okay. I was already discussed. I was late, sorry.
Well, and we're on to concluding announcements, so.
Sure. Just one last item, before we break up. We have traditionally, at least the last couple of years, done a combined meeting with pedestrian advisory committee in January. Are you interested in doing that this year as well? We have a couple of items that would do well to have a combined group
I love our meetings. I think they're great.
Sound good?
Sounds fun.
We gotta call it back. I don't know why we call it back. Why don't we call it back?
Yeah.
The backpack is better.
Backpack.
It's just literally better.
I'd like to make a motion to change.
We vote on.
There's an item for the transportation committee. I like backpack.
So we'll have the same conversation with them next week about moving their meeting and having a combined meeting, but you can anticipate that if it all goes through, that meeting would be toward the end of January, rather than the beginning. Because technically, if we had kept the original schedule, your next meeting was scheduled for January 2nd. Sure, how that would have worked, but it will be later in January. That's it. You can adjourn by consensus.
Oh, okay. What, I don't remember what do I just say?
We're done.
We're done. Right, done.
EAC out.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks all.
Oh, yeah. What kind of?
They tell you that they turn on or they just do it?
Yeah, they
You
did.
didn't make it?
Like how they make the frame.
Yeah.
I sent over fast.
Yeah, I went in, I saw the shop, I saw people sewing.
When was that?
It was warm.